and welcome to that Eurovision podcast, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. My name is Rory, and I'm doing pretty well today. It's been a very cold day, and I've been out kind of appreciating art and stuff because we have to do something during lockdown. But yeah, joining me.
Jazzy. It's just been a really cold but quite nice day. I've been for a couple of walks. Yeah, I haven't done much, but it's a Sunday, so that's allowed.
Fuck, it's a Sunday. Sorry, I had to do it.
Hi, it's Rosie. Today I spent most of it hiding in my house because some very dodgy people were outside my window. Basically, just don't trust adults on scooters. But basically, being outside my window means that you have come into our private car park for our block of flats. And there is no reason to go round there unless you live in these flats and have a car. So I've never seen them there, and they don't have a car, and I was very confused. So instead of going food shopping, I just kind of hid.
I think that's the rule that we all should be following anyway. Never trust anyone who owns a scooter.
And I mean like one of those like child scooters, not like a Vespa type thing. Like one of those like literally just what a child would roll down a hill on.
Oh, yikes.
Okay. Oof. But yeah, so unfortunately, again, this week we do not have a Tim, just because, also as well as being in conjunction with everything and organizing with Eurovision prediction, he's also out in court at the moment defending Polygenova for saying that if love is a crime, then she would be a criminal. So more power to Tim. Hopefully, his lawyer powers will come out.
Power to the people and power to Tim.
Oh my god. I mean, yes, definitely. But yeah, so in this episode, we are going to talk about Bulgaria. Bulgaria is pretty much a new addition to the contest, only joining in 2005. Their debut entry was Cafe with the song Lorraine, which unfortunately did not qualify for the final. However, since then, we've seen quite a number of actual participations from Bulgaria, 12 in total, of which only 4 of which they were actually in the final. They had a couple of years out between 2014 and 2015, as well as 2019 as well. However, since then, they really just seem to have gone to a whole new level. And yeah, Bulgaria is like one of the most expectant countries, especially in Eurovision now. So yeah, just to kind of get things going, like what are some of your favorite Bulgarian entries, or what do you think about Bulgaria in Eurovision in general?
In general, I really, really like them. They do tend to send quality consistently, like especially in the last 4 years, like with Polygenova, If Love Was a Crime, Christian Kastov, Beautiful Mess, Victoria this year with Tears Getting Sober. I think that would have done very, very well. I also like a few of their older entries too, although they may not have made the final. I think like the big notable mention for me would be Deep Zone and Baltazar with DJ Take Me Away. It's just the type of music that I really, really like and listen to. If you haven't listened to any of our previous podcasts, then you kind of understand what I mean when I say that little bit chavvy, that techno type vibe. It's just something that I'm totally into, and it definitely should have qualified. And you know what? It nearly did, because it came 11th in the semi.
Should have qualified. Ugh.
I think I have some quite similar entries to Jazzy, but I think there are a couple that she's not mentioned that I would like to give a shout out to. First of all, their first qualification with Elitsa and Stoyan with Water in 2007. It's a very me sort of song. It's a little bit out there, it's a little bit experimental. She's got an absolutely fascinating, very, very different style of singing and tone of voice, and I really, really enjoy that performance. weirdly enough, I really didn't take to Samo Championi in the same way, and I'm kind of sad that I didn't because I appreciate its existence, but I don't like it, if that makes any sense.
Okay, wow, interesting.
Um, a couple of others that I really like. Angel CT is a bop, as is Nat Inat, Polly Geneva's first entry. So much power, and I love that sort of very classic rock feel that she's got to it. Her voice is absolutely incredible, and I really like If Love Was a Crime as a sort of pop song, but Nainat is so different to that, and it's so diverse, and it just shows how talented she is generally. The other one that I think Jazzy hasn't mentioned, and I know that this is a little bit of a controversial one, but I actually do really quite like Bones. It's aged very well for me, and I feel like I'm still listening to it now regularly, and I get just the same amount of enjoyment listening to it now as I did when I first heard it.
I'm a little bit on the fence about Bones. I think it's a good song standalone. I'm not sure if I'm crazy about the live performance. I just find it a little bit manufactured for me, but hey, they sang it pretty well, so. And I am shocked that it only got 14th, so maybe people saw what I saw.
I think I could
I
agree
don't
with
know.
that, but it did get the YouTube video where someone made. Oh, I've completely forgotten the name. The first guy who sings, and he
Yeah.
goes, "Everything is dark," and then there's a video of him on YouTube going dark for 10 hours.
Oh my god. Okay, no prizes for guessing what Rosie watches in her spare time. Oh god.
I will say this though, I did meet them at Eurovision in concert back in 2018, and they were so lovely.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was so lucky. I was able to speak to them briefly through the ESC Extra live stream in 2018 when they were in Lisbon, and this this is going to be something that I will always remember Equinox for. Is that Jana Bergendorf thought I was a girl, and I am so happy that she even just got to recognize me. So yeah.
It's the hair.
Trust me, child. It's always the hair.
I
But yeah, I really love pretty much like nearly all of Bulgaria's entries. It actually would be better if I told you the songs that I didn't like from Bulgaria, of which there are only three. 2005, I thought it was a little bit too dated, and not to mention the plagiarism controversy as well did kind of dampen things a little bit. I also wasn't a big fan of 2009, maybe just because it was a little bit too experimental. But, you know, I mean, I'm sure he's a very talented vocalist, but just, it was just a mess. It was a mess. And I think everyone could understand that. Um, and my least favorite song from Bulgaria is. This is going to be a controversial one, especially because I know Jazzy God loves this song so much. It's Beautiful Mess. I understand that he's an incredibly talented performer, and I love the instrumental of it. It's just there's something in there that just really makes me not want to connect with it, and I really just don't know what I could possibly do in order to like it. And yeah, it's just very middle of the road for me, and I'm very, very surprised that it got second place.
Um, I feel for me, I wouldn't like this song as much as I do if it wasn't in the context of 2017, which, for all intents and purposes, I think so quite a weak year. Yeah. Um, I don't know if this is me defending it or me kind of slating it, but
For, I
it
mean,
wouldn't be so high in any of rankings of mine if it was in another year.
for more unadulterated opinions, please check out our 2017 episode. Yeah, no, I mean, like I can totally on a critical level, I can understand why it did so well. Just on a personal level, I would just never listen to that kind of music. And I don't know, there might just also be, maybe there could be also a sense of, I don't know, jealousy that, at the age of 17, he was able to sing like that, and I was like 18, and I wasn't nowhere near that level, so I don't know. But, yeah, obviously, Bulgaria's history at Eurovision is very much a story of two halves. From 2005 up to 2013, we only ever saw one qualification, and then a slew of non-qualifications. And then they took 2 years out from 2014, should I say, to 2015. And then from 2016 to, 2018, they pretty much had a qualification streak. It's like completely different, like a complete different shock to the system. So what do you think could have inspired that?
I hear that like Bulgaria definitely run into like financial issues at times when it comes to Eurovision. So I think if they're going to take part, then they've decided they want to really put their best foot forward and make the best of the experience. And the way to do that is to do well and make their participation worthwhile, especially in latter years where I do believe probably taking part in Eurovision costs delegations more money. And I think they think they're not doing well, then what's the point in putting that financial burden on themselves? So instead of just withdrawing altogether, they really put their heads together and made sure that their results were much improved in the 2 years that they had off. And I think it's obviously really working out for them. I also think in 2020, they would have got another amazing result with Tears Getting Sober. It could have even won the contest, but we will obviously never know that. And obviously, Victoria's back in 2021. So, and I just think it's going to be more good times for them.
And you know what? Also, fair dues to BNT as well for continuing to select Victoria for 2021. Some broadcasters might want to take note. Croatia.
Oh, Croatia. Yeah.
Finland.
And yeah.
Some Euro fans might want to take note about not shitting on people just because your favourite didn't win the national selection.
I put a tweet out about that yesterday. I'm very annoyed.
Yes, okay, I get it. Cicciolina was great. Don't take that out on Axel, all right? Maybe he'll come back the year after.
Maybe.
Keeping our fingers crossed.
It's interesting. I've been trying to do a little bit of research into the sort of Bulgarian delegation and things like that, and just wondering if they've had new heads of delegation or any sort of shift that might be going on. And I've not been able to find out a whole lot. The only change in terms of head of delegation I can find is in 2018, which interestingly is sort of their worst result of the whole sort of second half of Bulgaria's participation. And if I were a betting person, I would say that would have remained so with Victoria's participation. I think she would have done really, really well. And 14th is not bad. Like, we'd be celebrating over here if we got 14th.
I mean, if we got 14th, it would be street parties.
I feel like what they were sending before is an incredibly diverse selection of genres and music. And I feel like what they've gone for since 2016 is something that is very commercial, something that's very mainstream. And I say that in kind of a factual way. I don't say that to give an opinion on it. But I think it is very broad appealing. I think it's the sort of music that a lot of people really enjoy listening to, and it's not taking a risk with sort of niche genres that I think they were doing previously. And I feel like a lot of their entries previously should have done a lot better, especially because I really like having niche genres in Eurovision, and I like hearing the stuff that I wouldn't normally get exposed to. but I feel like when they get it right, and whether that's getting it right in terms of something that is very sort of unusual or something that is very much mainstream, I think that's when they've seen success.
Yeah, I mean, to give you guys a little bit more context, obviously, when a country doesn't tend to do very well in terms of its results, most of the time it does throw a bit of a hissy fit and just decides, no, we're never coming back. For example, Czech Republic after 2009, but pre 2015. Um, However, in their last 2 years of participation before they withdrew, they were actually incredibly popular. So, for example, in 2012, Sophie Maranova was actually, I wouldn't say she was cheated out of it, but she lost her qualification on a technicality, um, because Norway, who had come 10th in the semi final, had actually had the same amount of points as Bulgaria. However, when it came down to breaking the tiebreak, it was to do with how many 12 points that the people had received. And because Sophie Maranova hadn't actually had any, therefore she had to come 11th. Yeah, in 2013 as well, Ilitsa and Stoyan came back, and of course, everyone knew Ilitsa and Stoyan from 2007. So in the semi final, Ilitsa and Stoyan actually came fifth with the televote. However, the juries put them last. So therefore, that's another reason why they lost that qualification, because of the introduction of juries, because that was a hurdle that Bulgaria didn't need in 2007. Um, so I can understand why they decided to withdraw, and obviously, of course, financial things. That's part of the reason why we don't have Bosnia and Herzegovina anymore, even though we'd love to have them back at some point. But one thing I do want to point out is that even in the midst of them withdrawing from uh, at Eurovision, we still continue to see them in Junior Eurovision. And for example, we saw that it did incredibly well for them, because in 2014, Bulgaria came second in the junior contest, ended up hosting the 2015 edition, again hosted by Polygenova, and in there they also came ninth. So maybe it was like Junior Eurovision was the kind of what's the right way of saying it? Kind of like the drawing board, kind of the place where you could experiment a little bit and see what went wrong, so then you can improve for going back actually into the contest. And it seems to have worked. Fourth place, second place, 14th place, which obviously, if you're not relatively new to the fandom, you probably will have come across this meme of the most impressive man in the world, but with the Bulgarian flag in front of him, and it says, "I don't always qualify, but when I do, I get top 5." Technically, that doesn't count anymore because of but we have to make do. But again, still an incredibly respectable score, and of course, we were going to have Victoria come in again, and it should be noted that they really are just like making sure that all the money that they are given, both from Bulgarian national television and from other sponsors as well, um, all of that is being put into the perfect kind of staging, song, atmosphere. So even though Bulgaria doesn't necessarily qualify every time, it knows where to put its money now. Um, but yeah, that's just how I see it. um, but yeah, obviously, like how Rosie was saying as well, we also had like a new kind of commercialized sound from Bulgaria. But um, do you think that maybe might be kind of coming at a cost of their national identity, or do you think that maybe they should just be doing that for the sake of good results?
I was just looking through all their songs to make sure I'm saying the right thing here. All their songs since their return, um, apart from maybe Polly Genova's, because she does have part of the Bulgarian in her song, I could see in Melfest, and I could see them doing well in Melfest. And I
Wow.
don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
I feel like no, because there are some songs that they had previously that I wouldn't say had a huge amount of national identity that didn't do very well.
I don't think. I think if you're getting it like right consistently, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I personally like when a country shows off their national identity, and I guess 2016 they kind of did because there was Bulgarian within the song, so they were still incorporating it but keeping it mainstream. I would like to see a little bit more of that, but that's again to my personal taste. Some people see they're sending tune after tune every year and they can just keep on doing that. I definitely think the cultural like taste into their songs is a personal thing. Some people love it, some people are like, it doesn't really matter to them. But I think they got it right in 2016. Like they've got the balance right with having their cultural identity, but it's still remaining quite mainstream with the Bulgarian within the song.
Yeah. And I think as well, like obviously Bulgarian identity, maybe in the context of Eurovision, is very much Elitsen Stoyan, very like white voice kind of drum or that kind of style of singing. But there are some tiny little elements of like Bulgarian like instruments or Bulgarian vocal techniques and stuff in 2016, 2017, 2018 as well. Like for example, in 2016 we obviously had O Daj mi Ljubovta from in as like the hook, and then in 2017 we had like in I don't know what you kind of call it, the pop drop where it goes like
Yeah.
like I think that's like a
yeah, it's not like completely been taken away, but it's still remaining quite mainstream, and I do think it's a good thing. Because obviously it is, because it's giving them results and it's keeping them in the contest. Because I think if they stopped qualifying, they may withdraw again, and we obviously don't want that.
Yeah, and not to mention as well, Bulgaria's writing teams as well have been incredible at producing these kinds of songs as well. The main staple of which is an actual Bulgarian itself and not an actual Swede. The Bulgarian itself is Borislav Milanov, and obviously his writing skills have been so well received that he's actually writing for other countries now. For example, he wrote for Ben Dolic this year. He wrote for Cesar Sampson and Equinox in 2018. He wrote for oh god, he wrote for a few people in 2019 as well. Who did he write for?
I'm just having a look.
I'm checking his Wikipedia page right now.
He wrote Chameleon and Truth, Azerbaijan and Malta.
And he also wrote All of My Love for Destiny.
See, that's fantastic. So even if there's not necessarily like a Bulgarian influence in Bulgaria's entries, there's still a Bulgarian presence in other countries' elements. So even if Bulgaria did technically withdraw, we still would hopefully have a Bulgarian presence somewhat.
Yeah.
Borislav Milanov. But yeah, so something that I really want to pick your brain about is Bulgaria's delegation is very much focused, it financial difficulties obviously play a big part in this, and so where they want to spend their money is they want to spend it in the right place. So, we've seen that recently, especially in the last few years, they very much turn to fans for the to help sort of pick their entry. What do you think about that? Do you think that maybe they shouldn't be doing that because fans are incredibly biased, or do you think fans are actually like the key to success here?
I think they're a key to success because I feel like the fans are like the one group of people that know what they want from a Eurovision entry, and they know what does well at Eurovision because they followed the contest for like years and years. And they know how the contest is evolving. So I personally think it's a great thing, and I would like to see more countries do this. Cough, cough, the UK.
BBC, what are you doing?
No, I'm totally for this. I think that's all I really have to say. There are obviously maybe drawbacks that you can argue fans can be a bit biased. They're not music experts, but they're Eurovision experts. They've been following the contest for years. They know the ins and outs. They know what does well. They know what doesn't.
Yeah.
And if Bulgaria want to keep doing well, they should continue taking direction from the fans, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to vote for you at the end.
I feel like it's a little bit mixed because a lot of it very much depends on what sort of demographics and groups of fans you've got. And even within Eurovision fans, the taste is incredibly diverse. And I feel like there is a danger possibly of getting stuck in a rut, I think, if there is one particular style that becomes so powerful and so sort of homogenized, I guess, amongst Eurovision fans, which doesn't necessarily reflect the general public's taste. Because there is already this idea that Eurovision music and normal music is not the same. And as much as we put a lot of time and a lot of investment and a lot of energy into the contest and the fandom and all of those sorts of things, we make up probably 1 or 2% of the Eurovision viewing audience. That 99% has to come from your casual viewer. And it can be sometimes difficult to reconcile the taste of hardcore Eurovision fans with the general public.
Although I think there's been, like, especially among younger Eurovision fans, there's definitely this push to make Eurovision more mainstream, like make it less of a joke, like, and just like, but keep that Eurovision identity. And I do think we've definitely seen that more and more, especially in the last 5 years, where we're seeing Eurovision songs that you could see in the charts.
Oh yeah, like for example, just like this year alone, we saw Little Big, we saw Daddy, we saw Victoria as well. You know, these are all songs that you could easily see in charts nowadays.
So I think the fans are evolving with Eurovision, and with that is coming, like, there's a little bit more of a merger between the casuals and the fans. But obviously you've got your all your usual, like, fans that will just say, "Oh, Eurovision's just a joke every single year," even though the quality of songs and just the quality of the contest, especially in the last 5 years, has improved immensely and is definitely more like within the 2020 music scene. So yeah, I feel like I'm just going to argue for this at like every single point now. So I'm going to shut up.
That's great. Myself, I personally think it's a really interesting way of actually like producing the song. For example, you know, we've seen certain countries do it before. One particular example for me is in 2013 when Zlata Ognovich won the national final in Ukraine. They actually had sent out a questionnaire on the Russian social media site of Vkontakte, and they asked what could we do with the song to improve its chances of winning. And you know, they took on board the points that that you know, many of the fans or many of the people who responded to the questionnaire said. And you know, Gravity came in third place and it did really well. 2018, obviously Bulgaria did that in terms of Equinox, so you know, they formed a big kind of Eurovision jury filled with, you know, people from the Bulgarian music scene, Eurovision fans as well. And you know, we've seen it also this year, for example, in 2020 with I believe Switzerland did it as well. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
And San Marino and Czechia.
Oh yeah, there we go again. So contacting fans for that, it's definitely a tried and tested thing. Obviously, it just has varying degrees of results. Um, I think a lot of the time, you know, I would definitely take fans' ideas with like definitely as a consultation, but also add in a little pinch of salt there as well, just for the sake of, you know, potential bias towards a certain style of music. Not to get controversial here, but I mean, I've cancelled myself on this podcast God knows however many times anyway, so it's just a matter of time. A lot of the time, many artists or many fans of Eurovision are very into this idea of, you know, woman on stage does fancy dancing with a up tempo banger, and everyone loses their shit essentially. Tell me I'm wrong, okay?
No, I'm not telling you you're wrong. You're 100% right.
Yeah, no, literally.
I'm not gonna tell you you're right, but I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong for fear of getting myself cancelled.
It's alright. We all had, someone had to say it, and I'm happy to die on this hill. Okay.
You wrote a dissertation on it, so
there we go. Yeah. No, but yeah, no, so like.
I love how I just politely clunked myself on the fence, but politely agreed with Rory.
Just being like, I see your wrong points, but I also see your right points. Okay. Oh God, but yeah, no. So obviously, you know, I would take the fans' opinions with a grain of salt and see like what main points could be taken from that, and then transferred into the finished product. And I can see where Bulgaria was trying to go with that in 2018. Obviously, for many people, like with the studio version of Bones is absolutely fantastic, and I think pretty much everyone can agree on that. The actual live performance of it though, that made it feel a bit too clinical, I think, a little bit too cold compared to, you know, Beautiful Mess and If Love Was a Crime, because they were a lot more I mean, I wouldn't say hearty, but you know, there was a little bit more personality to it, I guess. And I think that's where they're kind of building on this with 2020, you know, with Tears Getting Sober. They had gotten Victoria in. They made sure that like they basically took the points from 2018 and applied them to 2020, and that's what the reason why we got a song like Tears Getting Sober, which is so much more personal. It's so much more filled with like authenticity and heart, you know. I kind of like that, you know. Obviously, I mean, now at the time of recording, we've just seen Victoria say that one of her most recent songs, called Ugly Cry, could be a potential song for Eurovision 2021, and that she was going to kind of keep carrying on releasing songs and seeing what the general reception is going to be like. Like, what do you think of that approach to it? Because it's kind of like a new like rendition of this kind of story that we're talking about.
I kind of like that they're getting the feelers out to see not just what fans think, but like maybe casuals in Bulgaria. Like, I think they really want to see what's going to do well and what's not, and I think they want to be ensured that they're going to get another good result, possibly because of the cancellation last year and the participation fees. They may be struggling a little bit financially, so they want to again make sure that their participation is worthwhile and they're getting a good result. Because I get that feeling that Bulgaria really, really wants this win.
Yeah.
Like, they really want to win. I think they're going to do anything they can to get there. And I can't help but think that is a really, really good thing. Like, we need that. Like, there's other countries out there that need that fire.
Like the UK, for example.
I was going to say that, but I wasn't going to say it again. Again, this is something I would love to see the UK do. Like, get the artist release a few songs and just see what works. Although, that may be a bad idea when I'm thinking about it. The UK hasn't exactly produced stellar national finals. Why would I expect them to produce good quality tracks?
I feel like if it was much more artist-led, it could be really successful. Like, the last time we had a truly, even vaguely artist-led song before 2020 was 2014, and she did great. And I think that song's also aged really well. I still see a lot of people say that Children of the Universe should have done a lot better, and I can't help but agree with them.
Like, I do feel like this episode has mainly been saying what Bulgaria do right and what the UK does wrong. But yeah.
I feel like if they had an artist and the artist was able to release their own tracks and to really have that input into their own work in a way that felt really authentic to them. And I know we keep coming back to this point on this podcast, but I think that's the way that they're going to find that success again. Otherwise,
I
it's
just
just going to feel...
want us to like have our like Bulgaria 2016 moment and just hit back in our stride again.
Or our Netherlands 2013 moment or something like that.
Yeah. Something that's just like, just to clinch it back from the jaws of defeat, you know? Oh, dear. But yeah, Rosie, do you have any like points for the 2021 approach?
I think I'm looking forward to it, and I liked Tears Getting Sober, so if it's an excuse to get more Victoria music, then I'm not going to complain.
It's a good time. To be fair, I haven't actually listened to Ugly Cry yet, so maybe I should listen to it and see what it's like.
Neither have I, so...
Neither have I.
I will get round to it.
But yeah, just to kind of like wrap things up a little bit. Jazzy kind of hinted at it earlier. Bulgaria just seems to have this fire now to win. So what do you think Bulgaria can do to actually get this win? You know, we've seen them come pretty close on 3 occasions, you know, coming 2nd, 4th, and 5th. So obviously they have the potential to do well. So what do you think that they can do just to kind of edge it over?
It's a hard one because I do think in any other circumstance they would have won in 2017, but obviously Salvador was Salvador, and I don't think anyone was beating him. Yeah, I sometimes do think it's just who you're up against.
Yeah.
And I definitely think this was a case in 2017 where he could have done it. He could have done anything on stage. Decision could have been anything, and he still wouldn't have beaten Salvador. It's a bit hard when they're actually getting the results that are getting close, but aren't quite there. It's like, what else can they do?
I feel like a lot of it's going to depend on what sort of song they have, because the way that you would change something like Bones is going to be very different to the way you change something like Beautiful Mess or Tears Getting Sober or something like that. So I feel like some of it might be the staging, and I feel like some of it might be the performance of it, and I think some of it might just be competition at some points. But I don't feel like there's anything that they are consistently doing wrong that they have to change. I think it's just a case of needing to get the entire package right when it matters. And sometimes that's just not going to happen because of the songs that you're up against. And that's kind of okay. And it's really disappointing if you want to win. But come back the next year.
Yeah, there was
Keep doing what you're doing.
I think we're in agreement. Like, there was nothing Christian Kirstov could have done.
Yeah.
To push him over Salvador. Nothing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I mean, I would love to see Bulgaria win. I think, you know, maybe this is partly because this is like my number 2 stan country. A lot of the time Bulgaria just sends quality after quality after quality, and I just think, you know, it needs to be properly you know, rewarded. And I think it will come a point where Bulgaria will win. It's just a question of when. I think if they just kind of carry on the same track of what they've been doing so far, you know, very much artist led. I think what they've got with Victoria, you know, letting her write the song as well as having other people come in as well just to help with, you know, remastering or lyrics or something like that. Something like if they kept that going where it's still very much artist led, but incredibly commercial and incredibly hard hitting, then I think Bulgaria will end up scoring that in no time. But if that does happen, I want to see Alitza and Stoyan just come back and be hosts. Please, I beg.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Oh dear. But yeah, do we have any sort of final points just before we wrap things up?
No.
We've covered most of what we needed to cover. I feel like I've talked a lot in this episode. I'm really sorry for that.
No, that's great.
Jazzy, we have a podcast. The whole point is to talk.
I mean, at least I'm not as nervous as I usually am.
Exactly. The growth. Myself personally, I want to just say two things. First of all, Sophie Maronova is a queen, and Love Unlimited deserves so much better. And that gif of her just walking around the stage in the intro to Love Unlimited will be the last thing that I think of before I die. I fully know.
It's like, what do you do when people sing happy birthday to you? You just walk around.
It's like, yeah, it's great.
She did not sing in 10 different languages to not qualify based on a technicality.
Literally. Ridiculous. And the second thing I also want to say is that Polygonova, I really do hope you properly found your dress in the end. And if you did find the dress, I hope you liked the dress. For those of you who don't know what that was a Junior 2015 reference. Please check it out. It's hilarious. Because she literally is like, that's not my dress! Like, there's like a point where she literally like starts screaming at like interns and stuff, being like, that's not my dress! Oh, amazing. Honestly. Polygonova for an Oscar, please. But yeah, that takes us to the end of this episode of that Eurovision podcast. I'd really like to thank Jazzy and Rosie just for, coming to Bulgaria and talking all things BNT, Bulgaria, Borislav Milanov, everything like that. We're going to be taking a little bit of a break over the Christmas season, so this will probably be the last episode that you'll hear from us in 2020. So, hopefully you will have a fantastic time celebrating any of your festivals that you choose to celebrate. And we will be coming back obviously in 2021 with all sorts of new things. By this point, by the point this comes out, FIC will have happened. And we also will have had our ESE 250 as well to talk about. So we will be having a few new sections of this podcast, and we're really looking forward to seeing how it's all going to go. So do bear with us, because we're still working out the kinks, even though we've been doing this for nearly a year. Crazy. But yeah, in the meantime, please do continue to follow us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at That Euro Podcast. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, so please do continue to check us out there. And please follow us there as well, so you always get notified for whenever a new episode comes out. And yeah, we'll be kind of carrying on with a few of these country retrospectives and a couple of year respectives. But like I said, we have a few surprises, and we've got so many new things that we want to already divulge with you. So watch this space, really. So yeah, we shall see you in 2021. So shall we all say goodbye?
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
And a Happy New Year!